This is not the first time the center has faced challenges. In fact, it was born out of adversity. The Westchester Community Center was formed out of a desire to create a social center for African American residents to enjoy artistic, recreation, education, and social activities that were not available to them due to the legalized segregation that existed in Westchester and the United States at the time. Dr. Leslie Pinckney Hill, president of the then named Cheney Training School for Teachers, now Cheney University, met with Westchester community leaders in the basement of the Westchester YMCA in 1914 to share his dream, which was met with understanding and overwhelming support. That dream grew over the decades, and thanks to the cooperation and support of many individuals and organizations, it became an active and thriving organization that we see today. Evidence of the Melton Center's impact can be seen using the 4 elements of McMillan and Chavis's sense of community. The 4 elements are membership, the feeling of belonging or sharing of personal relatedness, which everyone that has ever visited the center knows. Influence, a sense of mattering, of making a difference to a group and a group mattering to its members, as in like I belong here and I have a place here. Reinforcement, integration and fulfillment of needs, the feeling that members' needs will be met by resources received through their membership in the group. Being the center makes me feel good. And shared emotional connection, the commitment and belief that members have shared and will share history, common places, time together, and similar experiences, as in when I walk in this building, I instantly become part of its history. Throughout this evening, we will be sharing Melton moments, spotlights on the personal memories of those who have shared experiences at the center. I would like to kick things off by sharing one of mine. It's been over 15 years since my grandmother, Olivia Boyer, passed away. I remember her as a proud, strong woman who deeply cared for her family, and that is not diminished in my memory in the least. Fiercely independent, my grandmother was a single parent who took care of both my mother and aunt by working several jobs. She was a domestic worker for many years for various white families in Westchester. The job that she held longest was as an office cleaner for the local doctor who delivered me and would later become my pediatrician. My grandmother was also a cafeteria worker at Westchester University, where she was employed during my mother's college years. Lastly, my grandmother was a house cleaner for Friends Hall Nursing Home, which is located across from Marshall Square Park, where she remained from my childhood into her retirement in the mid-1990s. What always comes to mind when I think about my grandmother are days when I used to visit her at her apartment on Minor Street, which is directly across from the Westchester Community Center. Either because I was sick, or had half days at school, or just wanted to visit. If I went to grandmom's, and she would take care of me. I have vivid memories of us watching her favorite lunchtime TV shows together. The Price is Right, The Young and the Restless, Guiding Light, and then we would watch mine, reruns of Gilligan's Island, McHale's Navy, and The Dick Van Dyke Show. We would bake cookies and cupcakes, something my mother never had time to do with me because of her work schedule, and she would let me help her make my favorite lunchtime meal with her, which is a combination of pork, noodles, and soy sauce. We would then call Art Douglas, a local AM radio personality at the time, and tell him about our grandmother's and grandson exploits of the day. My time spent laughing, cooking, and watching television with my grandmother was among the happiest of my youth. In the summers when I was old enough, I would visit my grandmother on my own and play at the Westchester Community Center across the street. I left my bike in the hallway outside of her door, and my grandmother watched me from her window as I walked across Minor Street to the community center pool or to the summer camp that was held there. I didn't realize it then, but the community center was a major part of my youth, and like my grandmother's home, was a place where I always felt welcomed. The people at the center, the volunteers, the employees, the staff, cared for me as if I was their own child or grandchild. At the end of the day, when I left my friends at the center to go back to my grandmother's, I was leaving one family to go to another. To this day, when I visit the center, I look up at her old window, hoping for a brief second that she's still up there, looking down on me, before I enter the community center with a new resolve to care for others as she did for me. The Westchester Community Center served many roles for the Black community. For many that grew up in Westchester, like me, it was a second home of sorts, where children could go after leaving their mother's or grandmother's home to play, swim, or to participate in some sort of group activity. Historically, it was the first organization of its kind, outside of the established churches and private social organizations in town, where Black people were able to come together publicly and simply enjoy themselves. Under the leadership of Dr. Pinckney Hill, it was a place where Black people could express their political and social views safely to the larger Westchester community. For many people, like my parents, it was where we first played, danced, swam, and interacted, and volunteered with others that looked like them and learned the meaning of community and what it meant to be a responsible adult. The center was the go-to place for theater productions, concerts, birthday parties, wedding receptions, and funeral repasts. The center exposed its patrons to artistic, musical, and educational opportunities previously unavailable to them because of racism and lack of economic opportunities. Today, there are many locations where Black people congregate, celebrate, and experience educational artistic activities, but the Westchester Community Center is the place that first provided these things for us in Westchester, and that always needs to be acknowledged and celebrated.